Battlefield 4 is so close to Battlefield 3 it's hard to tell the difference. It's more or less a balanced revision of Battlefield 3 rather than a new feeling game. It does have a few improvements here and there, but it also has a lot of familiar problems and a lot of infuriating technical issues. Like its predecessor, Battlefield 4 is all about the multiplayer, but it does have a single player campaign tacked on. 3 story mode could be completely forgotten, but it's not the case with 4's. You're going to need to play it, which I'll explain in a minute. The campaign itself is largely uninteresting, with yourself always in a squad of people dashing forward, shooting dudes until you're told to stop. It only has a handful of dramatic set pieces, and a surprising lack of vehicle moments. There's a tank and a boat portion, but you won't be using flying vehicles or missile trucks or AC-130s or whatever. It makes the single player feel less like a Battlefield game and more like modern military shooter number 57. The campaign isn't terrible by any means, it's a short distraction and it won't hold your attention away from the multiplayer. Sadly, you have to play the single player, because doing so will unlock weapons you can use in multiplayer. You get ranked in each level, with bronze, silver, and gold all providing new weapon unlocks. So you need to get as many points as possible to make sure you get all the weapons. And in a somewhat backwards mechanic, you use the spot button like in previous games to point out enemies to your AI squad. They'll then concentrate on shooting down those targets. But the thing is, if your squad kills the enemy, you only get 50 points. But if you do it, you get 100. So to make sure that you get as many points as possible to get the gold medal for all the weapon unlocks, you have to do everything by yourself, destroying the entire purpose of having a squad, which is one of the bullet points of Battlefield. Plus, there are 3 very slightly different endings from a really stupid single choice at the end, and each one also gives a different weapon unlock. That means to get all the weapons, it requires that you play the final mission 3 times. That's assuming you actually get the weapons anyway. Battlelog returns for Battlefield 4, using your web browser to launch single player and multiplayer games. You can use it to track your stats, compare yourself to friends, and most importantly, give other players a big ol' hooah for whatever it is they just did. After beating the single player, myself and many others did not get all of the unlocks from what we were supposed to get. I got 2 of the 7 weapons the game told me I got actually unlocked. Developer DICE's response to this was to play a round of multiplayer which will then unlock them, but that has not worked for me. And this is the sad expectation with Battlefield games. We know the multiplayer is going to be super fun with crazy moments that you can only have in Battlefield, but it's going to be such a buggy mess, it's really hard to bare your teeth to get through all of the frustration. But let's start with the good things. The destruction has been upped from Battlefield 3, but not quite as good as Bad Company 2. Lots more buildings, walls, towers, and trees can be toppled over. Against heavy armors or rockets, nowhere is safe for hiding. Seeing your protective wall get demolished right next to you or blowing away somebody's cover is an invigorating experience. There's also the terribly named Levolutions for the stages. These are player-triggered events that dramatically change the map. A sunny day on the islands quickly becomes a hurricane, crashing a carrier ship into the land. You take down a smokestack to damage a bridge in another, or flood an entire city. While these are really cool to see, most of the time it feels like they happen when you're not looking, making you miss the big moment. And on a few of the maps, they make the dynamics less interesting, kind of ruining some of them. The squad mechanics have been greatly improved, with now being able to have 5-man squads and voice chat. Plus, if you play with friends, the game will frequently auto-balance it so that you're on the same team and in the same squad. Every class is given a crap ton of unlocks, with 4 types of weapon available to all the classes alongside their class-specific weapons. This gives you more options, like using the recon abilities but still toting a shotgun. Every gun has its own line of progression, so using each weapon gets you accessories specifically for that weapon. Some of these extras can only be found in battle packs, which are basically booster packs that are awarded to you after hitting a certain level or service star. These battle packs will have a random assortment of skins, dog tags, guns, or accessories in them. You can get weapon-specific packs or different tiered ones like bronze, silver, or gold. Buying the digital deluxe version gets you 3 gold packs right away, but it's always random what's inside. Take it from me, do not buy the digital deluxe version. It isn't worth it. A returning feature is being the commander. Doing so takes you out of the field of battle and puts you on a map of the fight. You can send out UAVs, EMPs, supply crates, or call in missile strikes to help out your team. But here's the thing. Being the commander is very, very boring. It's near impossible to tell if you're actually having any impact on the fight. Sure, you can give squads attack orders, but nobody listens to you. Everyone will always do what they want. The worst part is if you change your mind about being the commander, you have to disconnect from the server and rejoin instead of going right back to the field. This absolutely baffles me. And of course there are the problems. Wouldn't be a Battlefield game otherwise. The most common one is being complete game crashes. Battlefield 4 will just stop working in the middle of matches. DICE has rolled out a few stability updates, and I've noticeably gotten smoother frame rates and less crashes thanks to that, but it still crashes. I had the single player mode crash on me, forcing me to replay an entire section. Server lag is a constant issue on the big team servers, with rubber banding all over the place. I've had better luck and more fun with the smaller 32 or 48 man servers. I've also joined servers and had all of my progression bugged so that all of my unlocks were gone and I could only use the default equipment, forcing me to find another server. Some maps will just have the audio missing, causing an eerily empty environment. The destruction is cool and all, but I frequently got stuck on geometry that isn't there, and I couldn't jump over some pieces of rubble for whatever reason. It would even do the vault animation, but I still would get stuck and couldn't move. Probably the most frustrating is getting spawn killed. It'll happen a lot. DICE fixed this issue in Battlefield 3 by making it so that you're invulnerable while you're spawning, so that when your screen is black, you're safe. It was a great idea that alleviated a lot of anger. But for whatever reason, this isn't in Battlefield 4. Spawning and dying instantly is one of the worst things that can be easily fixed that they have fixed before. And that's the paradox of Battlefield. As much as I love telling stories about how I base jumped from a rooftop, shot out the glass below me and landed into an objective and recaptured it, turning the tides for my team, I have to deal with crashing, bugs, battle log, lag, single player from multiplayer, and what should be some easy balancing that just isn't done. Battlefield is still a solid game. The mechanics are great, the new engine is gorgeous of course, the sound is fantastic, and the multiplayer is still one of the best experiences out there. It's just all the technical stuff that kinda ruins it. Battlefield 4 gets a 7 out of 10, and I am worried for the series. Battlefield 4 feels a lot like Battlefield 3, with just a few minor improvements on top of familiar gameplay. This is also known as Call of Duty syndrome.